do you think that social media should be viewed in terms of its role in strategic public relations planning?
That's a great question. So, social media really, 3 years ago, I would have said is going to completely change public relations and revolutionize public relations. So, communications has typically been a role within a corporation that is undervalued, and you always have to mediate your communications. You always have to talk through a reporter or talk through another organization, talk through kind of what you did. Social media enabled you to go directly to your customers, unmediated, unfiltered, and communicate with your customers and consumers.
To what extent do traditional principles and strategies change with the expansion of social media?
Yeah, social media, because it's real time, because it's virtual, because it never goes to sleep, really becomes the foundation of communication. So once you have a social media capability, what you realize is that's ahead of media relations. It's ahead of typical kind of traditional public relations, certainly ahead of marketing and advertising. And social media changes the way the game is played. It becomes a 24/7 game. It becomes a much faster game. At the same time, social media has demands that it places on people who want to play in that space that most companies are going to be challenged, face some certain challenges. For example, companies aren't 24/7. Most companies are working Monday through Friday. Social media tends to fall off on the weekends. So you can see, if you look at Google Trends, you can see that search volumes tend to fall off on the weekends. People do other things on the weekends. But at the same time, you have to kind of work through, how are we going to deal with this beast?
What are mistakes commonly made in the application of social media?
That's a great question too. The social media mistakes that are most commonly made are that people want to race into the medium without fully understanding how deep the water is, how fast the water is moving, what kind of beasties might lay in that water that you can't see. And the thing that was a little bit frustrating to me, again, from a personal standpoint, was the social media, to me, is a place, if you're going to communicate, it's going to be a two-way communication. The first thing that you really want to do is listen.
Why is it so difficult to assess the value of social media?
I don't know that it is. And that's an interesting question, too. The value of the social media is basically capturing relationships that are online a little bit differently than you would otherwise measure a relationship. So, for example, if you run a story in the press, it's going to run to their online page. The online page of the Charlotte Observer has more readers than the print edition. And the interesting thing is, once something hits the print edition, we can see, any company can see, someone coming from the online newspaper to our site. So you actually can track business results in terms of, say, click-throughs really pretty easily.